Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., and more. This is a film directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Christopher Nolan, based on the book American Prometheus, which is the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer. What did you guys think? I want to go round table. So first things first, Mary, would you see it again?
Oh no, I would not see it again.
Would you see it again?
Yes.
Okay.
It's mostly because of the length.
It's a very long movie.
But I just recognized that this movie wasn't made for girls with short attention spans.
There's a $20 super chat there from Disco Jensen.
He said Barbie was written by and for 30-something females that spent their lives partying and chasing a career. She is trying to convince herself in writing that she made the right choice rather than growing old with a family.
Okay.
I thought that Greta Gerwig did have a family.
She's married to the guy who wrote the movie with her, Noah Baumbach.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. What did you think, Wesley?
About the movie.
Okay, about the movie.
About the movie.
Man, I actually have not enjoyed a theater experience as much as I enjoyed that one in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I think the last thing that I had, like, nothing but positive things to say was Bullet Train.
Bullet Train was good.
Which because I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. With this one, I was like, all right, I got big expectations. And it met them. As I tweeted about it and said that, like, there is a world where there is an alternative universe where this was like the most by the numbers, kind of walk the line period piece.
Not in the hands of Nolan, who's known for his time jumps and his his discombobulated storytelling. Mm-hmm. It would be a lot more boring.
Yeah, it would be just another what's the word I'm looking for? Conveyor belts, kind of.
So this is a movie that starts with J. Robert Oppenheimer as he is kind of taking the head of department in academia up through the project at Los Alamos, through then the political persecution and hearings that followed the Manhattan Project. And it's, in my opinion, it is a masterfully crafted story in regards to pace. I was never bored in the entire 3 hours of this. And it takes a very, very talented director to make hearings and political stunts interesting on screen.
Yeah, and it also takes like a really talented editor to know where to put those things in the movie in relation to the main storyline that's going on, because there really is no A story. It's all like a mess.
It is one story, but it's not. It's a mess, but it's not.
Yeah, right. But no, it's portraying a mess is what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the movie's not a mess. It's portraying this like messy, hard to explain. Like even if you're trying to explain what happened, like you read the book and you're like, I want to tell you about this, you would have to do this. You'd have to like say, but let me jump forward to here. Let me jump back there. That's the only way to do it and feel that kind of like the impact of what happens in scene A is played out like it is informed by what happens in scene B. Like they go together, and to be able to have the foresight to know this has to go here, and that your audience will remember that when you come back to it later. It's really
and not talk down to the audience in that respect.
No.
So the first act is a lot of character. Like it helps introduce you to who J. Robert Oppenheimer is, his faults, his flaws, as well as his strengths, the complex nature of his character, which is very, very important for later.
I mean, this was possibly... Thank you.
Hold, please. See, that was the bomb right there.
Yeah.
It's party time.
Go ahead now.
It's like Los Alamos all over again.
It is.
It was possibly on purpose, but I found Oppenheimer to be very hard to read.
That's the point. No, I think that's the point, because what happens is in this film, a big part of the political theater is basically the politicians trying to smear him as a communist sympathizer and somebody who could have had potentially anti-American sentiment as a way to get him out of office. But it's revealed later that this is actually the product of a much more personal, interpersonal vendetta going on with another character. But that theme is used throughout.
Funnily, a lot of right-wing influencers thought that this movie was communist sympathizers.
Yeah, like, look, they work very hard to show J. Robert Oppenheimer as somebody who refuses to be tethered to one ideology or belief system, even if he is. He labels himself a New Deal Democrat in the film, right? And you would absolutely be right. And first of all, they do take a shot at McCarthy. There's a quick shot taken at McCarthy. All of the the right wing politicians are absolutely shown as bullies and people who are looking to have gotcha moments on this guy. But that's what I'm saying. This is where Nolan's direction and pacing really kicks in, because these scenes could have fallen into melodrama very, very quickly, and for me, they never did that.
Yeah. No, and I don't understand let me say this. At the beginning of the film, I was like, am I sitting here watching a movie that's apologizing for like mid-century communism? Yeah. But then as it went, I was like, no, I understand what's going on here. It's all about his perspective on it. The movie holds whatever tone he happens to be feeling in the moment, which I don't know if I read it or somebody I watched said that Nolan has said that the stuff in color is all subjective from J. Robert Oppenheimer's perspective, and everything in black and white is as written in history. And that
because there'd be transcript.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me, because the movie is so like intimate with him the whole time. Like the movie focus, like it's an IMAX camera pointed at a guy's face for most of the movie, and that's really interesting. But and how it's presented, but the movie doesn't really take a stand. He's not telling you how to feel about any of it. He's saying this is how the people at the time felt about it, which I think is an incredibly fair way to make it. And there would have been people who are like, we're the good guys, even though from our perspective or from somebody else in the movie's perspective, they're the bad guys. And it shows both sides of that, like why this person feels that way, why they feel like that would be a threat, like the Committee on Anti-American Activities or whatever. Yeah. Un-American? I don't know. But it doesn't take that position. It just presents it as the people in the scene at the moment happen to feel about it.
And they go through a lot of what he felt after the detonation of the bomb at Los Alamos, and then the subsequent bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. His frustration with the politicization of everything that went on with it. Not so much the use of them, but the fact that his push to the contrary, his push for what did he wanted to treaties related to nuclear weapons. Yep. All of that, he felt like he wasn't being listened to and he wasn't being heard. Which,
but it also called him. It took him to task. The movie doesn't entirely identify with him either.
They call him he's a glory hound, and he wants to be the face of this.
Right,
this
exactly,
movement.
And it shows that in the end where they're like, why did you suddenly have morals against this? Why did it?
That's a fair question.
It's pretty. He doesn't have an answer, and it's like it's almost like him questioning himself and being like, maybe I have been acting this particular way because I want to be this, or. And it's unclear. It doesn't say, well, he did these things. At one point, Robert Downey Jr.'s character says perhaps he embraced fame because it would protect him.
He was the standout performance to me in this film, was Robert Downey Jr. His out of all the performances in the movie, I think his was the one that I've been waiting for, because I've been waiting for a really, really good Robert Downey Jr. performance after, post Iron Man that I've yet to see. And I really felt that he nailed it in this film.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have to stick by Cillian Murphy on it, because it was just he was enthralling to me, like seeing the wheels turn. Like he can do so much with his eyes that it sucked me in the whole time. Not to diminish anybody else's performance, everybody was great.
Couldn't stand Florence Pugh in this movie, but I often
were you supposed to?
I often can't stand Florence Pugh.
Was she
anyway.
supposed to be a likable character?
No, I mean it's not about being likable. I didn't like her. I knew Mary would not be a fan of the nudity in this, and I will say completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be there in any way, shape, or form, unless it was there to give it the R rating. Was there a lot of cussing? I don't remember if there was a lot of cussing in the movie. Maybe I just blocked that stuff out. But if the point of the nudity was to give it the R rating, I guess. But
I don't know. Like I not entirely necessary, but I could see what it was used to do. It was sort of like, this guy's so dressed up all the time, and this is the one person. It was a
But they call him a womanizer. They call him a womanizer.
I know, but it was painting the picture that even his relationship with his wife was almost business.
Yeah.
And his relationship with her, this is the one person he felt vulnerable with. And then using that same visual metaphor was when he felt exposed in the hearing, and he had the guilt of it.
Okay.
Well, I thought that was well played, and it wasn't like the way that the media represented it before is like there's this like prolonged double nudity scene, and it was like he's sitting there with his legs crossed, and it's like that is also a visual metaphor. It's like he's exposed but still hiding something. Like I find that somewhat visually compelling. Didn't need it personally. You could probably have done that in another way, but it didn't offend me. I was like, well, this is what I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying. And that one particular scene where cameras circling around him. I was like, that's pretty effective. He feels exposed. He feels like what he did and feels guilt about, it may as well be happening right there in the room in front of his wife.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Appreciate that the movie was able to present historical events in an objective way and not be, precious and overly concerned with what contemporary audiences will think of it, or like the current political climate and its interpretation of the past. But I also think that it was bringing up moral questions that a contemporary audience is not prepared to
actually
engage with at all. And
like what?
I mean, specifically with the atomic bomb. Like,
okay,
he's supposed to be like questioning his own morality and like, did I make this weapon as like a remote? Was I like remote from this evil, or was I one of the people that enacted it? And I just don't think a question like that is going to be actually engaged with by a modern audience properly.
You might be right, but I don't think that's a reason not to ask them, because if you set the standard low, then the standard is low.
I thought what I liked was, one of the things that was funny is watching them build as they're building the bomb. It was very much like in the Dark Knight Rises. It felt in the same context to me. So somebody's like, do you think Batman survived the bombing at Los Alamos? Like, because that same question is asked at the end of the Dark Knight Rises. Did Batman actually survive that? Look, the explosion scene was masterfully done. I was waiting for the nuclear jump scare. That eventually came, that comes after the repetition of his famous quote. The sound design there was very, very good. The visuals were very, very, very good. He has said that there is no CGI in this movie whatsoever. So all of that was done live, I guess. There's some great memes that came out. It says like the Oppenheimer cameraman, and this guy holding the camera, it's like all his skin has been pushed off his face. Like Nolan's like,
sorry.
Like, basically. Right. So look, it's hard these days for me. Like I will say that for me, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning did something similar, meaning that it was a long movie that didn't feel long to me. And that's hard for me, because I'm extremely impatient. I have a very short attention span, and credit to Cillian Murphy, he's enthralling on screen. Every time he's talking, you want to take in everything he says, because he commands. He has a command performance. Emily Blunt does a very, very good job of showing multiple layers to a very complex look at what an actual human relationship is like, right? Like, you have to look
like
at
fiercely loyal,
and while being just a mess, right?
Yeah.
She's a mess, but she's extremely loyal. In a lot of ways, wants to push back on things that he's not willing to push back on, and she calls him out for it in the room. But at the same time, has to be stoic when in front of these committee members. By the way, the lead committee member, played by Jason Clarke, he nails that role. He's just a dick. The guy's just a dick. Also, it was very cool to see David Krumholtz in this movie, who gained a crap ton. I can't tell if they did that with makeup or if he put on that much weight, but he put on a crap ton of weight to do that role. I don't know if that was because that's just what he looks like now, or the person he's portraying looks like that, but he did great. Kenneth Branagh was
standout
cool
performance, the best performance I've ever seen from James Remar.
He was only in it for a couple of minutes.
But I believed him, and I usually don't.
Cody Bedreau said, did they try to make Cillian Murphy look just like the G-Man from Half-Life while watching it with my sister during dinner and movie date night? We sure thought so.
I don't need, like, this is a story that I believe is going to have a very, very bad ending. My friend, you and your sister, it's not good. But Gregory Barra, Kenneth Branagh, Harry Groener.
It was very weird, and took me out of the story to see Josh Peck.
Yeah, and
I didn't mind it.
Tim DeKay, Scott Grimes, like all these actors that I've seen a ton of before, but on smaller projects.
The eldest brother of the Skarsgårds, it plays one of the scientists as well.
Oh yeah, I saw him in the credits.
There was Tony Goldwyn played. Tony Goldwyn was in there. He's after playing the president on Scandal for 7 seasons, and Vincent D'Onofrio's heroin addicted brother on on see.
Played a serial killer in Dexter as
Yeah,
well.
yep. Tony Goldwyn's great. So
A little connection with James Remar.
one of the great things about somebody like Nolan is he can get any number of actor. Like his like fill in, like his supporting cast are A-status actors on television, so you're going to get
Nat
great
Wolff is in there
performances.
as well.
Yeah, you're going to get
Or
great.
Alex Wolff? I
You're
can't
going to
remember.
get great performances
Wolff.
all around, and I really
I saw
do
people
think
saying like Benedict Cumberbatch is probably crying that he didn't get this role.
he should have. He should have been. I'm surprised he wasn't in this movie at all. Right? And Matt Damon also did great.
Yeah.
Like as just his
Casey Affleck.
The thing about the Matt Damon is that they screwed him in the trailer by putting his worst delivered line
Yeah.
in the trailer.
Yep.
The rest of his performance is great
Yep.
and measured and done in a way that you like. They actually give depth to his character where they point out he goes, "I'm but a simple soldier," and then the guy's like, "You studied engineering at MIT or something like that." He's like, "Oh, did I?"
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Like it was great, and I really do think that this is the type of movie that, like, if your girlfriend forced you to go to Barbie, my friend, get your revenge. Drag her ass to Oppenheimer and mansplain the whole way through, like I saw all of the Nolan bros doing during this movie.
You did?
No, I'm being hyperbolic, but there was definitely dudes there with their girlfriends who you can just tell the dude's read the book and he's gonna be like, oh yeah, this is where this happens. This is where
I don't
this happens.
think I could actually say I like enjoyed myself watching the movie. I can tell that it's technically well done in every way. I'm ambivalent about it.
Also, I like people hate Nolan's sound design, but I love the sound design in this film. I thought it was.
I think they just hate that sometimes you can't hear the voices.
That wasn't the case.
I
mean,
didn't have that problem.
in
I
this
didn't either.
film,
Except in crowds, and I was like, but that's what it would sound like.
somebody pointed out there is a technical error with the flags in the scene where he's talking about the successful detonation of the bomb, because apparently we didn't have the 50 state flag yet.
Oh.
And while I was watching, I'm like, did we have Alaska? Like, I was like, who's the? Is it? I asked that question. I wasn't smart enough to know the answer, but I did wonder if that was like a thing, and apparently that might have been a mistake on there. But look, there's a sense of like scale to what he does that even committee member hearings feel like a big deal. Right? Like when you're watching him on screen, like the best way to describe this is like when they're doing the horseback riding, it's these sweeping shots from either a crane or a helicopter that are just beautifully done, and they denote the scale of the, like there was money to be spent here to get these shots, where if this was done on a television budget or even with the director with less tact and skill, would have just been done on ground and it wouldn't have been as captivating. Did you find the personal elements of him to be the more interesting part, or did you find the element, because like when you really look into it, I basically says like only Christopher Nolan could make scientific project planning interesting, because that's what it is, right? When they're talking about the science, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about unless they're scientists. But he makes it interesting because it's about the connection between the scientists, right, in all of their interpersonal drama.
It did a good job of humanizing scientists and showing that they're not these gods that
they're
tell
jealous.
us truths from on high.
They get jealous just like anyone else. Like when one scientist gets the funding that you want. It was. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, and that you go straight into another person I thought was fantastic, which was Benny Safdie as Tellers, the one who turns on him and she won't shake his hand at the end, and how much he looks like Shane.
My gosh, I noticed that too.
But no, you're 100% right, and he finds a way. He does it with everything. With all of his movies, where he finds a way to take whatever the plot is about and inject that into the interpersonal, where like there's something more to be said about every theme. It is interlaced in those interpersonal things. The achieving the goal of detonating the bomb, it's also a metaphor for what happens in his life. Like by achieving it, he detonates a bomb in his own life.
And they warn him of that beforehand.
Yeah.
He's warned before that happens. They go, when they're done with you, they're going to use you up and they're going to spit you out because it's the government. And I think that's, I mean, I don't know if I can trust Hollywood to be honest about that from both parties, but it is a universal truth that when the government is done with you, it will chew you up and it will spit you out because
you're a problem for them if you've had that access.
Exactly. Also, David Dust Malcolm is perfectly cast. It's just a slime ball.
Yep.
I really thought
I wouldn't even call him a slime ball. He was just like a sharp tool.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, well, I'm going to aim you at this, and you are a battering ram.
Still think he could have been a good Joker. Even especially given the fact that he was a Joker ally in The Dark Knight. But yeah, there's some very interesting discussions about communism and socialism, all of which in the hands of another Hollywood writer would have been really, really like this had the potential. Those themes had the potential to be utterly terrible in the hands of anyone with less craft.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, to the people that are like, this is just a communism apology movie. No, it's not. Like, even Emily Blunt, Kitty, when they're grilling her about her involvement with the Communist Party and whether she has a card, she's like, I thought they were something, they're not.
Yeah.
And I believe in these things, they don't.
Being and they say at the even after he has his security clearance revoked, they say we have no doubt that you love this country, but under the new guidelines from this Atomic Energy Committee, we cannot in good conscience give you. But it doesn't matter because it all comes back to the interpersonal story between him and Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Strauss, not Strauss, Strauss. Like that's the beauty of it, right? Is that it's not about necessarily these big ideas in the end. It's just about the fact that he humiliated this guy at a conference 6 years ago, and the dude's a dickhead who held a grudge for a super long time. And even he has, like, there's a great moment where they're trying to, one thing that I thought was written out or could have been handled better, and I think they might have written it into a corner, is I don't know what I was expecting when they were talking about, like, what did he say to Einstein? Like, I don't know what I expected him to have said, but it wasn't as enthralling as I expected it to be. It works.
I expected it to be sort of a mundane thing, and that is more, to me, more
Believable.
satisfying. Yeah.
More
satisfying even, just him being like, hey, like, this is the weight of genius, and this is what people who aren't geniuses will do when you are, and you don't have, like, you are not the politician, you are the person that enables them to build their career off of you. And that is exactly what Robert Downey Jr.'s character wanted, was to just use him to prop himself up into a cabinet position. And when he did something that undermined him way before that, same thing. It was a double dip, as you might say.
All right. I would recommend going and seeing it, if for no other reason than to cleanse your soul of the Barbie mayhem that we dealt with over the weekend. Mary, thoughts?
I recommend it. I mean, I'm not the target audience, but it was good.
Okay. And?
100% recommend. I'm definitely going to see it again.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.